Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Projects of Power series. My name is Avonryn, and in today's video we will be going over spirit weapons, what they are, and how they benefit and grow with you in your journey to become stronger. Throughout the video, I may refer to the weapons as either spirit weapons, egos, or ego weapons, because they're all commonly used terms to describe a weapon that's been upgraded in this way. The first thing we are going to go over will be the user interface for spirit weapons. This interface will list your spirit weapons on the left side, as well as have 4 tabs across the top. The Info tab will break down the benefits you're getting from your spirit weapon. The Enhanced tab is where you'll upgrade your spirit weapon with the ego points you accumulate as you level it up. The Growth tab is where you'll feed your spirit weapon and improve its level, and the Chat tab will be used to talk to the spirit weapon directly, and we'll go over each of these tabs individually a little further into the video. Before we start breaking down all of the benefits of spirit weapons, let's focus on how you can obtain one. There are 3 different methods to getting spirit weapons, and it does somewhat depend on when you started your journey as a Militian. If you are a newer player, you'll first encounter a spirit weapon while doing the Blenhead's Brave Boost questline, specifically during the Birchhead's Spirited Insights quest on the 3rd memoir. With this quest you'll unlock Irie, the only spirit you cannot custom name or choose a portrait for. Irie is a great starting point for spirit weapon users because she does gain experience faster and has an easier time building bond with the player. For players who decided that they did not want to work on the Blenhead's Brave Boost, you can also get a spirit weapon from the Meeting the Ancient Spirit quest, which can be obtained from a quest board after cumulative level of 500. This will teach you how to make a spirit weapon, but it doesn't really give much detail beyond that. The final way to obtain a spirit weapon is for more long-time returning militians, which will be converting what's now called a classic spirit weapon to the new spirit weapon system. This method will let you rename your spirit, select a different portrait to use, as well as convert its stats towards the new spirit level system. The chart on screen will detail the conversion ratios for that process. All of the methods will involve similar materials. The Blenhead's Brave Boost will provide you with the materials needed during the quest, while creating one outside of that will require 5 elemental removers and a magical spirit stone, while converting a classic spirit will need those materials, but also a spirit liqueur on top of that. Now that you know how to get a spirit weapon, I do need to go over a couple of limitations. One major limitation you'll run into is that you can't have 2 of the same type of spirit weapon. This means that if you are using something like dual swords or paired blunt weapons, that only one of them will be able to house a spirit. This also means that you cannot have multiple spirit weapons built to serve different purposes of the same weapon type. The only weapons that you can have an ego on are as follows: one-handed axes, blunt weapons and swords, two-handed axes, blunt weapons and swords, bows, crossbows, atlatls, chain blades, dual guns, shurikens, wands, staves, control bars, lances, knuckles, scythes, and manhand cylinders. This means there are some weapons that are excluded as well, such as rapiers or weapons similar to the Merlin's Chilean mana knuckles, as well as some of the more silly options you'd think you'd have with the prop weapons such as pillows. Another limit that is important to go over regarding spirit weapons is the weekly experience cap. You can gain 400,000 experience per week, which does reset on Samhain, or Saturday, at 7 AM Pacific Standard Time. Thankfully, this value is per spirit instead of being shared across all of the spirits you have, allowing you to work on several at once. We will now shift our attention to the tabs I mentioned from the user interface, and we'll start from right to left, which means our first tab to go over is the Chat tab. This is used to build your spirit bond, which provides a small increase to your experience gained. You can use 3 keywords with your spirit per in-game day, resetting at 6 AM in-game time. Each keyword used provides plus 10 to the spirit bond value, unless you're talking to Irie, who will get 100 bond per keyword. When your spirit bond is at 100, you do get a 20% increase to the experience that they gain. Spirit bond can also be increased by fighting with the spirit weapon, which provides 5 bond per 5 minutes of fighting, resulting in a much slower process than speaking with them. You don't necessarily need to build spirit bond for each level if you don't want to, but there are certain levels that will benefit from making sure spirit bond is maxed out. Moving to the Growth tab of the Spirit Weapon menu, this is where you'll be feeding your ego to improve its level. The primary source of experience for spirit weapons is going to be gems in all of their various forms. The first type we will be going over will be gemstones. There are 2 different tiers of gemstones, which are separated into the basic gems category and what I will call preferential gems. Basic gems will include rubies, star sapphires, emeralds, topaz, spinels, jaspers, garnets, and aquamarine. These gems will award a small amount of experience based off the size of the gem. The preferential gems, on the other hand, will give a larger amount of experience, and most of them can be considered a spirit weapon's preferred gem, which will award slightly more experience than the rest of them. Preferential gems include diamonds, bloodstone, red heliodor, tanzanite, opal, green heliodor, tourmaline, jade, heliodor, ametrine, phantom quartz, pink sapphire, and jet. Of these gems, only diamonds aren't classified as a preferred gem for any single spirit type. Each spirit will have a preference based off of what weapon they are, which can be located in the top right of their portrait while on the growth tab. Irie is a little unique in this regard though, and will receive the preferred bonus regardless of what preferential gem she's fed. There are a ton of different ways to get your hands on gemstones. For the basic gemstones, this includes, but is not limited to, Shadow Mission completion chests, Theater Mission completion chests, Evan's part-time job, from doing Metallurgy as a rare drop, Beltane Mission monster drops, the Royal Gem Society box, Tech Duin missions, Ancient Titled monsters, as well as from various events that Nexon runs for the game. For the preferential gemstones, the sources are a little more scarce, however you can get them from running veteran dungeons, hard mode Tech Duin missions, Royal Society sponsor boxes, events, and, again, very rarely from Metallurgy. The second item that you can use to easily feed your spirit weapons are called spirit gems. They come in a variety of experience values. There is a 100, 500, 1000, 1200, and 1500 experience value variant available. Since the spirit gems are a set experience value for their type, they're very handy for if you need a certain amount of experience to reach your next level. They do also still benefit from the bonuses of having your spirit bond increased. I did compile a small list of some sources for obtaining various levels of spirit gems. The 100 experience variant can be found in all Elite Shadow missions, as well as all advanced difficulty dungeons on the Ulad continent. The 500 experience variant can be obtained from hard mode advanced Ulad dungeons, Lord difficulty Shadow missions, as well as the Paka and Coil Abyss dungeons. The 1000 experience variant can be found when doing hard mode Tech Duin missions, as well as Chronicle missions. I wasn't able to personally confirm the drops for the 1200 and 1500 experience versions, but from what information I could find, it looks like they drop in the Crom Boss dungeon at 80 to 100% difficulty. Another detail I will make mention of for collecting these spirit gems is that you can get a healthy amount of them from the growth guide, which is unlocked after completing the Blended's Brave boost to help guide players. You're given gems worth 100, 500, and 1000 experience throughout the growth guide. The last thing I have to say regarding the spirit gems is that a majority of the time when you get them, they are untradeable as well as have an expiration timer. However, on rare occasions, you can get some as a drop that are tradable and have no expiration timer, allowing you to buy and sell spirit experience with other players. Another type of item that can give you a fixed amount of experience is actually equipment found in dungeons or shadow missions. Every so often when you open a treasure chest from completing a dungeon or shadow mission, you'll get some equipment with a highlight around its inventory icon. The highlight signifies that it has either an experience boost when sold at an NPC shop, or that it awards spirit XP when consumed by a spirit. Usually, the amount of experience offered by this type of equipment isn't very much. The highest amount that I can recall ever seeing was only worth about 300 experience. You can also feed items that don't have a marker for providing bonus experience, but they don't award very much at all. However, it is still a nice little bonus for if you happen to collect equipment from dungeons or shadow missions and don't have any use for them. Another gem-oriented method for raising your spirit weapon level is using gem powder. There are 5 types of gem powder available at the time of recording for this video, which would be regular gem powder, fine gem powder, potent fine gem powder, and echostone gem powder. I personally haven't used very much gem powder in feeding my egos, partially because when I was actively working on them, it was a pretty rare resource, and partially because I always felt like it was worse than just feeding the gems to my spirit. These days, it is actually possible to craft some of the gem powders at your Moonlight Island, but with the cost compared to gems, I don't think it's really worth it. A regular gem powder costs 1 of each basic gem and uses any size to produce a single powder, which is only worth 125 spirit experience. Fine gem powder can also be crafted and uses 5 regular gem powder plus a diamond, but only awards 1,983 experience. The potent regular gem powder cannot be crafted, but awards 3,225 experience and is usually obtained from veteran difficulty dungeons. Potent fine gem powder is worth 4,550 experience, but can also be obtained from veteran difficulty dungeons, just less commonly than the potent regular gem powder can be. The final gem powder type, Echostone Gem Powder, gives 1,983 experience, the same amount as fine gem powder, but comes from fragmenting echostones and is a lot more obtainable than crafting a fine gem powder for the same experience. There is also another item you can obtain called a Mysterious Spirit Stone, which will function the same way a Golden Experience Fruit would for a player, providing spirit experience instead of combat experience. There are a few different varieties ranging from 30% to 300% of your spirit's required experience. The reason the Mysterious Spirit Stones are good to take notice of is because of the fact that they ignore the weekly experience cap for the experience they provide. You could have had your spirit weapon fully completed on experience for the week, and still be able to use one of these stones to get that last level or two. Another really important detail about the Mysterious Spirit Stone is that when you're close to leveling up, or using one that provides multiple levels, it will max out the spirit bond stat before actually performing the level up. There's a few tricks that I would like to share with everyone regarding feeding your spirits. The first is that every time you feed them, there is a 10% chance of getting a lucky bonus, which will double the amount of experience gained. Due to this, I strongly recommend only feeding them half of what they need to level up at any moment, so that way you don't consume too many gems or items unnecessarily. Another trick you can use, particularly when feeding a lot of gems at once, is hitting the auto button on the bottom of the interface, which will automatically select the top 10 gems in the list. You can even take this a step further by filtering what gems you want to see in the list, which lets you choose what size gems in case you're not wanting to get rid of any specific size or a particular gemstone as well. Each time you level up a spirit weapon, you'll get a resource called Ego Points, or EP for short. Ego Points are what let you customize the behavior of a spirit weapon, giving you things like damage modifiers, additional effects, or upgrading the Spirit Awakening skill. There's a cap of 196 ego points you can have on a single spirit, and to get the maximum, there are certain criteria that have to be met. For example, starting at spirit level 54, you'll be warned when feeding your spirit that there is a bonus points based off of your spirit bond. If you make sure to max out the spirit bond before finishing the level, you'll get the maximum amount of EP from that level up. Every 5 levels up to level 90, and every level after 90 will give this warning message to inform you that you might miss out on some of the ego points if your bond isn't capped out. Another thing that needs to be done to reach maximum potential for a spirit weapon is the Spirit Calling quest. Every 5 levels you'll unlock a new Spirit Calling quest as long as the last one had already been completed. And if you complete the task listed, such as the first calling quest being to defeat 50 monsters with your spirit weapon, you'll be awarded additional EP. As the spirit weapon gets to be a higher level, the quest will become harder, but thankfully, there is no time limit on completing the quest, and even if you end up getting qualified for the next quest before you finish the one you're on, you'll still be given the next quest as soon as you finish the one that you're stuck on. As I stated a moment ago, ego points are going to be spent on upgrades. These upgrades are going to be under the Enhanced tab of the spirit weapon interface. The first thing to be noticed in this tab is that there are 3 different skill trees for spirits. You have the Attack, Exclusive, and Awakening trees to upgrade. At the bottom of each tree is an ultimate upgrade which requires 75 EP to have been spent in the skill tree above in order to unlock. The first level of any of the sub-skills will cost 1 EP, the second will cost 3, the third will cost 5, the fourth will cost 7, and the fifth and final level for a sub-skill costs 9. The ultimate upgrade at the bottom costs 10 points as well, meaning you'll have to have 85 EP to be able to get one ultimate upgrade. We're going to be going over each tree individually, starting with the Attack tree. For the Attack tree, you only have 3 sub-skills to choose from. The top one, called Spirit Training, is simply a flat damage increase. For physical damage weapons, this will just be damage, whereas magic or alchemical weapons will gain magic attack or alchemy damage respectively. The second sub-skill is called Spirit Attunement, and provides a 3% bonus critical hit damage per level for a maximum of 15% bonus critical hit damage. The third sub-skill, called Spirit Control, provides bonus damage based off of one of your stats. This varies from one weapon type to another, but I have the weapon types listed on screen with their respective stat for extra damage. The ultimate upgrade under the Attack tree is known as Spirit Unleashing, and provides a 5% final critical hit rate increase. If you watched my video on Renown, you might remember how critical hit rate is capped at roughly 30% when you start your journey as a Militian. The Spirit Weapon Ultimate Upgrade provides another 5% to that final critical hit rate, meaning you'll have a 35% critical hit rate as opposed to 30%. The exclusive tree is a little difficult to go over in a single video, solely because of the fact that some of the effects are exclusive to each weapon type as the name would imply. I did come up with a way to break it down in a general sense, and I do intend to have videos for each spirit weapon type as well. The first subskill in the exclusive tab is called Amplitude, and will provide a small behavior change for one of your skills. The second subskill is called Amplify, and will provide a bonus damage percentage if your enemy is under the effect of a bleed, daze, defense, or protection debuff. The third skill is called Lucky Strike, and there's a couple of different effects based off of which weapon you have. Some weapons get a defense and protection reduction effect chance, some get the chance to trigger bleed damage, some get increased attack range. Wands and staves in particular get a chance to recover mana when attacking with magic. The fourth subskill available under the exclusive tree is called Enrage, and it increases your damage dealt to enemies under 30% of their maximum health value. The final upgrade in the exclusive tree is the ultimate upgrade, which varies from one weapon type to another. Some weapon special upgrades are more useful than others. For example, late game bows have arrows with unlimited ammunition, which is the same effect as the ultimate upgrade for spirit bows. Meanwhile, dual guns, for example, get to skip the reload skill use when low on ammo, allowing for constant fighting. When the videos for individual spirit weapons are made, I'll go over the unique upgrades for each weapon, as well as go over the amplitude and lucky strike effects for each weapon. The third and final skill tree is the Awakening tree, which augments your spirit weapon awakening skill. I haven't really spoken on the spirit weapon awakening skill yet because I couldn't really find a good spot to mention it earlier in the video. So we are going to derail slightly so I can go over spirit weapon awakening. The Spirit Weapon Awakening skill is first unlocked at Spirit level 21, and will be added to your skills menu in the weapon's respective talent list. It's a skill that solely accumulates a charge before being ready for use, and upon activation does a decently sized area of effect attack and boosts your damage by 10% with your spirit weapon for a set duration afterwards. As your spirit weapon gets stronger, so does the Spirit Awakening skill. There is something strange I've noticed while using Spirit Awakening myself, and it's that sometimes it won't do any damage, particularly in later game content, oftentimes just hitting a 1. Even if this is the case though, it may still be worth using for the damage bonus effect if nothing else. Returning back to the Spirit Awakening skill tree for your spirit weapon, the subskills are fairly straightforward with their names. From top to bottom we have Awakening Attack Enhancement, Awakening Range Enhancement, Awakening Duration Enhancement, and Awakening Buff Enhancement. The attack and range enhancements are specifically applied to the actual use of the skill when dealing damage, while the duration and buff effects are for the after effect of the Spirit Weapon Awakening. The ultimate upgrade for Spirit Weapon Awakening is called Awakening Acceleration, and allows for you to build charge on your Spirit Weapon Awakening skill twice as fast as you would otherwise. If we go back to the information page, it's pretty blank if you just got your first spirit weapon, but it will still show a lot of details for your spirit, letting you know what effects your spirit currently has applied, which weapon has the spirit attached to it, as well as what rank your Spirit Awakening skill is. There's also a small spirit transformation segment at the bottom of the user interface. This is where you can make your spirit weapon a little more personal to you by applying a cosmetic effect that will showcase that your weapon hosts a spirit. By default, it'll be a colored orb that floats around the weapon, and the color changes depending on what level the spirit is. However, there are several dozen different effects available at this point. Most of the spirit transformation liqueur are either from gachapons or events, but there are 3 of them that you can obtain besides the basic one for free in-game, by mining at the beach in Torii Ravine. Specifically, you can get the flame, flare, and feather effects from mining at the beach. With that, we have mostly concluded the topic of spirit weapons. As I've mentioned a couple times throughout the video, I do intend to make some videos targeting specific weapon types and their unique upgrades. Which weapons do you think I should cover first? Thank you all for staying here until the end, and if you found the information in this video useful, please give it a like, subscribe if you're interested in seeing more informative videos like this one, and comment if you have any additional questions that I might be able to answer. I will see you all in the next video.